known Debbie for a number of years, and I have had the privilege of working with her for a few. And I know she's a little nervous, but she's got an incredible story of perseverance and letting God in. I love her so much, and I'm so incredibly proud, and I feel honored to be able to work with her and go through the big book with her. And she's walked some really hard things in the last couple of years, and I'm just so incredibly proud. So this is Debbie.
I'm not gonna look at you guys because it's freaking me out. So, um, hi, Dave. And I have notes. My name is Debbie. I'm an alcoholic. Um, I just got a text message that my best friend's mom just passed away. So that's why I'm probably a little bit more emotional. So I'll just wanted to get that out there. My name's Debbie. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date last time is November 22nd of 21. Um, uh, thank you. I grew up in Helena. I did not grow up in an alcoholic home. I didn't grow up in an abusive home. Um, I, from early on, I like to be by myself or like to have one friend, not 100 friends. And so I felt like a loner quite a bit growing up, but when I was in ninth grade is when I had my first drink, and I don't remember it that much because I actually don't really have a lot of memories of my childhood. I think that has to do with my drinking. Um, I I work in a high school right now, and I can't even remember what the inside of my high school looked like. But after that first drink, I pretty much drank a couple times a week, turned into every day of the week at lunch with my couple of friends. So I barely graduated high school. Um, I graduated on Friday and I moved to Missoula on Saturday. I couldn't wait to get away from there and just be completely on my own and um, make my own decisions and um, not have to report to my parents or anything like that. I I'm really sorry. I'm so fucking nervous. So I feel like I'm going to be all over the place, but I'm just gonna. Um, after I moved here, I got a job and met my future husband. Got married. Had a couple of kids. Um, I worked in a pretty high stress job, and I remember a friend of mine one day saying to me, "You should just have a couple shots when you get home from work before you start dinner." And so that's I think that's kind of how my disease really took off. But they were fancy shots. They were Kahlua and something, really fattening shots. But I would get home and I would have a couple shots, and then I would feel like I could relax and cook dinner and kind of just unwind from my day. And then my husband would get home an hour or two later, and that was pretty much my life for about 10 years. We'd go out on the weekends, and I do, now that I'm in this program, I try to think back and remember certain situations. And I do remember being at bars where they were closing and we were going home, and I just had to have one more shot. And I remember my husband saying to me, "Why are you doing that? We're just going to go home and go to bed." And I didn't think that there was anything wrong with that. Um, but that's how it started. And then I um, started getting other things. I never liked beer, so it was always hard alcohol. So Jaeger was my favorite, and I would get that and hide it in the freezer, and I would drink, um, after work and on the weekends and stuff. And then I got pregnant and I quit drinking. And my husband and I were supposed to quit together everything that we were doing. And I quit and he didn't. And, um, but I had two healthy babies. But after I had my first child, about 9 months later, I had to have back surgery because both my pregnancies had blown a disc in my back. And so I had the first surgery, got pregnant again. And then when my daughter was 2 weeks old is when I had to go in and have my second surgery. And then I started taking pain pills and was like, I was superwoman when I was taking pain pills. And so I became hooked on those. And um, I remember laying in bed and just thinking, I don't know how I'm ever going to quit this. I don't know how I'm going to stop. Nobody knew but me. And so I really don't remember how it all happened, but I ended up at Providence inpatient, and I was one of the last graduates before they closed down that program. And I was there for 30 days, and I learned a lot about addiction and alcoholism. And I went to quite a few treatment centers after that. And now I think back and I'm like, they were great. And that was the only way that I was able to get sober, is by going to treatment. But I learned a lot about other people's stories and how to drink better and how to hide it better. And so anyway, that first treatment center, I stayed sober for about 4 years. And my first introduction to AA was when I was in treatment, and Taxi Cab Bob came and picked me up and took me to the Sunrise Group. And that was where I admitted for the first time that I had a problem. And I went to that meeting every day for 4 years, 3 years probably. And then I quit going. But my daughter, who's 20 now, she grew up in those rooms with me, and a lot of old timers know her and she knows them. And but I had quit alcohol after that first treatment, but I didn't think I had a problem with alcohol. I knew I had a problem with the other stuff, but not alcohol. And so that's how I started to drink again. After I relapsed the first time, I don't think I could get more than a year sober for quite a few years. I had a good job. I was raising two kids. On the outside, it just looked like the perfect life. I was a functioning alcoholic. So in 2009, I couldn't stop drinking again. And I had a friend of mine from the school that I worked with drive me to Great Falls. And I went to the detox center there. I think it was Great Falls or Kalispell or something like that. But so I was there for about a week, and then I came home, and then I was a caregiver for my dad. And my dad was he was my rock. He was my best friend. And I moved him to Missoula and took care of him. But during that time, I was drinking. And I can remember my kids would take the school bus to his apartment, and then I would meet them afterwards, and I'd have a bottle of water and it'd be full of vodka. And I think my dad knew, but he didn't say anything to me. And he passed away in October of 2010 from Lou Gehrig's disease. And it was about 18 months from when he was diagnosed to when he died. And he was my rock through tough times in my marriage, and just everything. And so I remember finding him in the morning when I went to pick him up for an appointment, and the first thing that I could think of after getting a hold of family members is that he had alcohol in his closet. And I couldn't wait to just go and drink that. And so I planned his funeral, and everything went fine, but I remembered sneaking out to the car and drinking more to get through that. And I wasn't present for him when he passed away. So about not even a month later, I with my counselor's help, I went to Sundown in Yakima, and my partner wouldn't take me. So I put myself on a bus and went down there and was there for like 45 days. And Sundown is, it's a men and women facility, but you are kept separate. I mean, you eat in the same room, but you're not allowed to look at them. You're not allowed to talk to them. I mean, it's very, that was a big rule. Well, after I got there and they did my intake, they decided that I needed to go to the advanced group. And so because of being a chronic relapser, there were about 8 or 9 of us, men and women, that were in this group. And we really focused on why are we relapsing and going through different assignments. And we were together all the time. We went to group together. We ate together. We didn't have any free time like the other people did. We were constantly just working and trying to figure out why do we keep doing this? And so I came back and sorry, I have to look at my notes. I stayed sober for, like I said, I still don't think I got a year after that. And I just kept relapsing. And I was thinking about in the last couple of days, why did I drink? I mean, you get asked that all the time. Why did I drink? And I drank so I could feel happy, for 5 minutes while that first feeling, and then it was gone. But then I couldn't stop. I had to keep chasing that and drinking more. And I didn't want to look at any of the negative stuff in my life and my relationships or anything. So I kept drinking, and I would drink if I wanted to mow the lawn, and I would drink. I remember drinking and trying to paint my house on a ladder. And it's just stupid stuff, but I couldn't go to the grocery store without being intoxicated. I couldn't do anything. And like the book says about trying different things, I would, it would be Jägermeister, and then I'd get sober, and then the next time it would be wine, which I hate wine, but I figured that would be, that wouldn't be as bad. And then pretty soon I'm drinking 3 bottles of wine a day, and I'm trying to figure out I mean, normal people go to the grocery store and buy wine. It's no big deal, but I go to the grocery store and buy wine and think everybody knows that, I'm going home to drink it in my closet. And, and then at the end, it was just the cheapest vodka I could find. It didn't matter. I mean, if it didn't matter. I just had to have it. In a couple situations that happened to me when I was intoxicated, my sponsor at the time knew, and she was coming to get me to go to a meeting, and I saw her pull up, and it was in the winter time, so it was dark out already. I think we were going to the Missoula group, and I saw her, and so I ran outside and hid from her. And we lived on 5 acres at the time, and she comes inside, and no one can find me, and my poor babies are out in the snow looking for mom. And they find me behind the hot tub, passed out in the snow. And, I didn't go anywhere that night. She just put me to bed, but just some of the stupid stuff that, um, I put myself through, but my kids, I mean, that's the biggest regret of all of this, is what kind of life my kids had to live. Um, I picked my daughter up, from drama practice or something at Big Sky, and I got lost in the back streets across from the mall. And we were trying to go get something to eat, and finally she's screaming at me, go home. I mean, she knew I was drunk, and she was scared. And um, there was one time I went to pick, this one I remember all the time. So I was going to pick my daughter up at her friend's house that lived out in Potterville. And I came around the corner and I just was falling asleep. And so I thought, well, I'll just pull over for a second. And I'm on the first road that goes into that neighborhood. And next thing I know, some parents from the school that I work at were knocking on my window. And I wake up and look at them, and they're like, "Are you okay? We're just checking on you." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm just tired. I'm fine. I'm fine." And I don't know how long I sat there, but my foot was on the brake. I wasn't even in park. Um, and now when I go to my sponsor's house, I force myself to drive that road every time so I don't forget. Because I think that's part of my problem, is that I forget how I blew my life up. I forget how, you know, how bad it was. And then when I'm ready, when I need to escape or I need to whatever, I'm like, oh, it wasn't that bad. I got through it. I'm okay now. So I can do it again. And I do it again. And I blow it up even more than I ever thought that I could. And um, I never, I understand now how when you quit drinking and you relapse, your mind, you just think that you're going to have one. I don't know how many times that I get in a fight with my husband, or the kids piss me off, or whatever was going on, and I'm like, I just want to escape one night. That's all I want, is just one night. And so I do, but it never ends with just one night. And in a matter of days, I'm right back to drinking as much as I was when I quit the last time. And I never understood that until the very last time I relapsed, of how close I could have come to, to dying. I mean, that's how I can see how that happens all the time, that your mind doesn't think that, um, your body remembers. And so you end up drinking, what am I trying to say? You end up drinking just as much as you did before in a short amount of time, and your body can't handle it because it's been sober for a while. And I truly believe that if I go out again, that's what will happen to me. Um, um, so in, 2015, I had some girlfriends of mine, have me meet them for coffee. And of course I was drinking at the time, and they did an intervention on me, and um, got me to see that I needed to go somewhere right then. And of course I wanted one night, I could do it the next morning, but they drove me home and took me inside and helped me pack my bag. And all I could think about was, how can I get away from them for 2 minutes just to, drink right before I go. And so, I said goodbye to my kids once again, and, went to, St. Pat's emergency room. And in order to get admitted, I had to tell them that I was, suicidal. And I wasn't, but that's how I got admitted to the psych floor, whatever, at Providence. And I was there for a couple weeks. And I remember when I was one of my best friends came and did the ending, the session at the end with me because I was scared of how my husband was gonna he was tired. He was tired of doing this, and he was tired of, just waiting for it to happen again. Whether it was 3 months or 3 years, he just knew it was going to happen again. And I remember the counselor looking at me going, "You're not done." And I was like, "Screw you. I am too done. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "You're not done." And he goes, when you're done and you have some time, you come back to me and tell me that I was, that I was wrong or whatever. And, he was right. I don't think I got 3 months and I was drinking again. And, I had a job that I absolutely loved and people loved me. And all I could think about, I would drink before I went to work, and then all I could think about all day long is getting home so I could drink again. And I heard this in a podcast once, and it's just always stuck with me. How do I describe me when I'm drinking? I'm either drinking or I'm thinking about drinking. I'm drinking or I'm thinking about drinking. And that's me completely when I'm not sober. And, anyway, then I stepped away from a job that I love because I couldn't do it anymore. And, I, I took a different position, and, I, it was before Christmas. A couple years later, I was home. My kids were at school. I was drinking, and all the times most of the times when I was super intoxicated, I don't remember a lot of that, but this one, I can close my eyes and I can remember everything. Thinking to myself, I can't stop. I am hurting my family. I can't keep a job. I can't stop, and I don't know what to do. And so I took a bottle of blood pressure pills and crawled into bed and texted my husband something. I don't know what it was, but apparently he read between the lines, and my kids were with him. And so he was making my kids call me, trying to figure out where I was. And at some point found me and drug me out of bed and asked me if I needed to go to the hospital. And I remember everything about that day. And the kids went with us, and he took me to the emergency room, and I was admitted, and I woke up, I don't know, 48 hours later. And that didn't even stop me. That wasn't even my bottom. I mean, if you ask me what my bottom was, I don't even know, because I still drink again. And the last treatment center I went to was here in Missoula at RCM. And I, again, called and got myself admitted, and I drove myself there and got there about 7:30 and was doing the intake, and they tested me, and I was at a 0.4. And the gal said, "How did you get here?" And I'm like, "I drove, my car's right there." And so I was there for a month and got sober again, but I still drank again. And then I thought, okay, if I can get out of a toxic relationship and get away, and I won't, if I got that house, I wouldn't drink again. If I got that job, I wouldn't drink again. And now it was like, if I could just get away and start fresh, I wouldn't drink again. And so I did. My daughter and I left and moved into a different place. It's been 3 years now. And so my son was in college and she was a senior, and she wanted to have 6 months of just her and I. And 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 so we moved, and that didn't stop me. I still drank again. Um, and that last time I, I had gone to the liquor store, and I went in and I got a bottle of Jaeger, and it was like right when they opened. And I went home, and apparently my daughter called my sponsor and said, yeah, I'm sure that's where she went, because she's carrying a brown bag inside. And so then she tried to come and talk to me, and I hid the bottle. And so I got done talking to her, and then I couldn't find where I hid it. And so I, not even an hour later, I drove back to the liquor store, and I got out of there as fast as I could, because I don't know how many times my daughter took my keys, and I didn't want her to take my keys. And so I drove somewhere. I went back down to that same liquor store, and I got another bottle of Jaeger, and I gave it to the guy, and it was somebody different. And he goes, this is really weird. We never sell this stuff. And now we've sold 2 in a couple hours. That's just really weird. And I'm like, oh my God. So that was the last time, I bought alcohol. And so I went home, and my kids took my keys, and um, I started to sober up on my own. And that is what, if I, the obsession to drink is gone. My life is good now. But if I ever think about it or anything, that's what I remember. And I force myself to not forget how bad it was, because it was, drinking is one thing and blowing up your life is one thing, but trying to pull yourself back up is something else. And that's, that time I feel like I took my alcoholism to a new level. I don't know, people talk about DTs. I don't understand any of that, or blacking out. I don't know. But that time, for like 48 hours, I would close my eyes, and I would try to picture something happy, like my daughter's dog, and it would turn into, his face would just turn into like this evil, um, demon looking whatever. And so it's like I couldn't close my eyes, because that's all I saw when I closed my eyes. It's just, you know, horrific pictures. And so for 48 hours, that's what it was. And I just thought, I mean, my brain is turning to, I don't know what's going to happen to me when I come out of this, if I come out of this. And but I did. And so that's what I don't forget, is if my alcoholism took me to that, I was poisoning my brain. And because of my drinking, I don't have a good short-term memory. And I work in a school, and I have the hardest time remembering kids' names. And I think they all just laugh at me now, you know, well, Debbie doesn't remember, but you know, I know who they are. And I'm always asking the gal behind me, what was that kid's name again? Or what's that parent's name? But I believe today that that's caused from all my drinking. And so, um, you know, I remember one time, uh, uh, um, I, just a couple other stories. Oh my gosh. Okay. I thought I was going to talk for 10 minutes and be like, okay, I'm done. But I went to the fair to watch my son show his first deer, and I had a water bottle of wine in my purse. And, you know, I just think I'm so sneaky and stuff. And I went to leave, and my brother-in-law, who is like a brother to me, um, came and grabbed me, and it's like, give me your keys, give me your fucking keys. And I mean, that was so, you know, I just did stupid shit like that. And I drank on Antabuse. Don't do it. And, you know, I journaled. It's like I knew that it wasn't the right thing to do. And so as I was starting to feel like I was having a heart attack or all this stuff, I wrote all this shit down. And um, I found that, you know, a while after that happened, and you can't even read my writing. And I threw it in the garbage, because I didn't, I didn't want to look at that. And I mean, just stupid stuff that alcohol that I did. Um, so I had reached out to Tammy. I've known Tammy, our boys grew up together. And I remember the first time I met Tammy, I had someone say, you need to come meet this person because she really needs, it was when I was sober. And that's how Tammy and I met. And anyway, I reached out to her and she, thank God, let me or became my sponsor. And I drank a couple times from that first time I asked her to be my sponsor, and she never fired me and she never gave up on me. And, um, you know, today I, for the first time in 35 years, I am completely on my own. And, you know, I have an amazing job that I love, and I'm figuring out who I am again, and, um, liking myself again, and loving myself again. And I have a great job. I have go home to 4 cats. You know, my kids, my daughter and I had really struggled when she was in high school. I mean, I should have been there for her and I wasn't. And I never thought, I remember thinking there's no way that her and I are ever going to be okay. She's never going to forgive me for the stuff that I did and said and everything. And of course, my son, he's just like the peacemaker of all of us. And so he just kept, you know, you can do this, you can do this. And, but by the grace of God, my daughter and I have a relationship today that I never in a million years would have expected. I didn't have a good relationship with my mom. And I just knew that that was going to happen with Allie and I. And I mean, I talk to her every day, if not twice a day. She calls me and she asks my advice. And she, you know, my kids grew up in AA. They grew up with this. And I think if I had to go through everything that I went through to be able to help my children not go through the same thing, then it was all worth it. And yes, my kids drink, and my daughter and both of them talk to me. You know, they ask me questions, and they, you know, they know it's in their genes from both their parents. And you know, I'm so blessed that I have a relationship with them. Um, I um, I guess if I had to talk to anybody who's new in here, or um, not so new, or relapse or whatever, just I wish I would have listened the first time I went into those meetings and listened to them when they said, just stay. Don't go back out and try it again. Um, you know, I know they say this all the time, but I don't know anyone that went out and tried it again and came back and said it was amazing, because it's not. And I my life is so good today. And like I said, I finally feel like I love myself, and I have a good job, and I bought my very first car, brand new car, after I got divorced. And you know, I don't know what my life holds, but I do know that when I go through some really hard stuff, um, you know, that I have in the last couple of years, I don't think about drinking. I mean, I have to learn how to sit in it. And you know, I still am good at pushing stuff down, and I'm trying to not be like that, because I know that's what will get me back out there. Um, and I have an amazing relationship with my you know, my in-laws. I mean, I've been in their life for 35 years. So they, you know, they're my family. My mom passed away 2 years after my dad did. And like I said, I didn't have a good relationship with her, but I was able to be with her at the end, and I was sober. And I just, like I said, I hope you stay, and not think that you should go out and try it again. I just, I would never want my life to give my life to anybody. I would never want, uh, to do it again. Um, and I try to not regret the past. It's really hard. And when I was writing these notes out this last week, it brought up a lot of icky stuff that I haven't thought about in a long time. And I, it I don't want to remember because it's so hard. And I feel so horrible about, what I've done to the people in my life. But I do know that if I forget that stuff, that I'm gonna drink again. And I'm like I said, I'm for the first time, I'm 55 or something years old, and I don't know what my what my life holds for me, but I'm okay being alone, and I'm okay taking care of myself, and I am so okay that I am there for my kids, and they want me to be there in their lives. My son came home this weekend. Like I said, they're both in Bozeman, and my son will graduate in May and we'll move back to Missoula, and my daughter will graduate in December, and she's never coming back. And she's just like me, she couldn't wait to get away, and she's going to be okay, but she wants me in her life. And um I, I'm just that's just the best. So I don't want, like I said, I don't want to forget, and I don't want to give up everything that I've worked so hard for. Um, and I don't want to hurt anyone. I never had DUIs. I never went to jail yet. Um, and I don't know how I didn't get DUIs, because I lived 10 miles out of town and drove that every day, twice a day, intoxicated. And for some reason, God helped me get through this last one, and I'm here for a reason. I don't know what that is, but it's not time for me to not be on this earth. And I love my life, and I hope you got something out of this, but that's all I have. So thank you.
Oh, great job, Debbie. That was amazing. Thank you so much. It gets easier. The next time you might be able to look at people for a second. All righty. Before closing, let us remember that anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions. On a personal level, tell anyone you wish you're an AA member, but please do not reveal the identity of anyone else.